What if failure is your teacher? We weren't born with fear of failure. As children, we approached life with open hearts, trusting, hoping, daring to fall, because we knew each fall would teach us something. We didn't fear mistakes, we grew from them, but somewhere along the way, something shifted. The world began to tell us that failure was something to fear. We learned that falling meant we were weak, mistakes were to be hidden, not embraced. And we started to build walls around our hearts. But here's the truth. Failure is not your enemy. In Buddhism, failure is not something to run from, it's something to embrace. It is through failure that we begin to understand impermanence, and with that understanding, we find deeper wisdom. The Buddha taught that suffering is a part of life, not because failure is inevitable, but because of our attachments, our attachment to expectations, to control. When things don't go as planned, we suffer. But what if we stopped seeing failure as defeat? What if we saw it as an opportunity to grow, an invitation to awaken to something deeper within us? Think back to a time when you failed, maybe recently, maybe long ago. Remember that weight of failure. Now, imagine seeing it not with regret, but with gratitude. What would that feel like? In Buddhism, failure is an opportunity to shed attachments, to let go of control, and to awaken to impermanence. This is where we begin, this is where the journey starts. Can you see your failures not as defeats, but as invitations to grow? Let's take that step together. Failure is a strange thing. It's not something we plan for, yet it's always there, just waiting for us, at the most unexpected moments. Sometimes, it's a small stumble, a missed opportunity. Other times, it's a huge crash, a dream shattered. But why does failure hurt so much? Why does it feel like a wound that never fully heals? In Buddhism, we learn that failure isn't really failure at all. It's part of the impermanence of life. Everything we know, our successes, our failures, our pain, our joy, it's all temporary. It comes, it goes, and it changes. The Buddha taught that our attachment to outcomes is the root of our suffering. We become so fixated on how things should be that we forget the truth. Nothing is fixed, everything is fluid, everything is changing. So when we fail, it's not because we're bad or unworthy. It's simply because life is in constant motion. We're being shown a truth we don't want to see. Nothing lasts forever. Think about it. The things we fear losing the most, the things we believe define us, they are all impermanent. Our success, our wealth, our reputation. All of it is temporary. Failure teaches us that nothing is guaranteed, but instead of running from it, we can embrace it. When we do, we begin to let go of our attachments. We release our grip on the things we thought we couldn't live without, and in that release, we find freedom, freedom to experience life as it is, without clinging to any outcome, freedom to learn from every failure, and to grow from every mistake. So the next time failure comes knocking, don't see it as a defeat, see it as a moment of truth, reminder of the impermanence of all things. And in that moment, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Even the Buddha was not born awakened. Before he was the enlightened one, he was Siddhartha, a prince with every comfort, every luxury, every reason to stay comfortable. But something inside him stirred. He saw suffering, old age, illness, death, and he walked away from the palace, from his power, from everything, not to escape life, but to understand it. And then, he failed, again and again. He tried extreme asceticism, starving his body, pushing his limits, believing that pain might bring clarity, but it didn't. His body weakened, his mind dulled, and he realized, this was not the way. That moment, that realization, was his failure. And his turning point. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not with pride, but with humility, not seeking perfection, but seeking truth. And there, in silence, he awakened. But the Buddha wasn't the only one. His closest disciple, Ananda, failed to understand the depth of his master's teachings for years. He memorized every word, but struggled to embody the wisdom. When the Buddha passed away, Ananda wept. He felt unworthy, incomplete. He had been near the Buddha every day, yet enlightenment still eluded him. But he didn't give up. One night, after days of relentless self-doubt, he let go. He stopped trying so hard. He surrendered, and in that moment, he awakened. Failure wasn't their enemy, it was their path. Each mistake, each doubt, each collapse, it shaped them, it humbled them, it brought them closer to truth. So why do we fear failure so much? Why do we see it as the end, when for them, it was only the beginning? Maybe we've been looking at it all wrong. Maybe failure is the gate, not the wall. Why does failure sting so deeply? Not because of the fall itself, but because of what we attach to the outcome, our identity, our worth, our hopes, our pride. We don't just fail, we believe we are the failure, but Buddhism teaches something radically different. You are not your success, and you are certainly not your failure. You are the awareness behind both. The Buddha called it upadana, clinging. Grasping at things as if they could stay forever, our ideas, our plans, our image of who we think we should be. But when we cling, we suffer, because life doesn't cling, it flows. Non-attachment is not indifference, it's not apathy, it's the courage to care. Without needing to control, to love, without possessing, to strive, without being destroyed by the outcome. Think about the lotus flower, it grows in the mud, thick, dark, uncertain, but it doesn't hate the mud, it doesn't try to escape it, it uses it. The mud is what makes the lotus bloom, and so it is with failure. Our darkest moments, our disappointments, our shattered plans, they are the mud, but within that mud, there is a seed, and that seed is awakening. Letting go doesn't mean we stop trying, it means we stop clinging. We act, but release the outcome. We plant the seed, but let go of how and when it grows, and in that space, that freedom from attachment, we find peace. We begin to see failure not as something to be feared, but something to understand, to honor, to learn from, because in letting go, we finally become who we truly are. Sometimes, the hardest part of failure isn't the fall, it's the silence after, the moment when everything stops, and you're left alone with your thoughts, the doubts, the voices, the endless questions. Why did I do that? How could I mess up again? Am I even good enough? It's a storm, not outside, but inside, and yet, that's exactly where mindfulness begins. Not when life is perfect, but when it isn't. Mindfulness doesn't mean escaping the storm, it means sitting in the center of it and watching it. Without fear, it's the ability to breathe, even when everything feels like it's falling apart, to notice the anger, the shame, the sadness, without becoming it. To say to yourself, this is what failure feels like, this is how disappointment echoes in the body, and then, to just stay with it, breathe with it, let it rise and pass, like waves, not walls. When the Buddha taught mindfulness, he wasn't giving us an escape route, he was offering us a mirror, a way to face life, and ourselves, with clarity, no hiding, no pretending, just presence. Because when we are truly present, even failure loses its power, it becomes something we observe, not something we are. So the next time you feel lost, the next time everything seems to collapse, stop. Close your eyes, take a breath, and return to this moment. Right here, right now, not in the regret of the past, not in the fear of what's next, just here, because the present, no matter how broken, is always whole, and sometimes, that's all the peace we need. What if failure was never meant to break you? What if it was meant to wake you, to shake you loose, from the dreams that no longer serve you, from the masks you've worn for too long, from the stories you were told, or told yourself? Maybe that heartbreak, that loss, that stumble, wasn't the end, it was the invitation. You see, in the Buddhist path, there's no such thing as wasted pain. Every setback, every collapse, is a doorway. But only if you're willing to look deeper. Not, why did this happen to me? But, what is this teaching me? Not, how do I avoid failure again? But, how can this failure awaken me? The Buddha never said life would be free from pain. He said pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's how we relate to the pain that determines who we become, and when we meet pain with awareness, with softness, with truth, it transforms. Just like coal becomes diamond under pressure, just like fire purifies gold, your setbacks can become sacred, your wounds can become wisdom. There's a saying in Zen, the obstacle is the path, not beside it. Not after it, not around it, it is the path, and the moment you stop running from failure, the moment you bow to it, listen to it, honor it, it begins to shape you into something deeper than success ever could. So let your mistakes teach you. Let your flaws humble you, let your disappointments open you, because every ending you feared could be the beginning you needed, and every fall you've taken might be the reason you rise, not in spite of the failure, but because of it. So now you know, failure was never the enemy, it was the mirror, the teacher, the guide. It stripped away your pride, your illusions, your need to always win, and in the silence it left behind, you found something else: stillness, strength, compassion. The Buddhist path was never about escaping difficulty, it was about waking up through it, seeing clearly, feeling deeply, responding wisely, and most of all, loving yourself anyway. Even when you fall, even when you break. Even when you're lost, especially. Then, because the real freedom is not in never failing, it's in rising, softly, mindfully, and with grace. You don't have to run from your past. You don't have to regret your stumbles, you only have to return to this moment, and begin again, always. Begin again. So if this message spoke to your heart, if it helped you see failure in a new light, then share this space with others, like the video, leave a comment below, tell us your story, and don't forget to subscribe. Together, can keep walking the path of awakening. This is Zen Buddhism wisdom, where ancient truth meets the modern heart. Until next time, breathe deeply, live gently, and walk with grace.